Tom Brady didn't go on the field on Sundays and just, hey, I'm just going to go throw it around, see what happens. He practices. He's been doing this a long time. He is still doing fundamentals. Most people in their business, when they're talking with other people, they wing it, right? I don't like scripts. Well, scripts are just an outline. I don't want to sound fake. I would bet that anybody who's been in business more than 3 to 4 years, you have a script. It's innate and you've learned it over time, but you say the same kind of basic things over and over again. And so just giving people some ways to think about stuff I just love it.
On today's podcast episode, we have Sean Waite from Southwestern Coaching. And Sean is a coach that specifically is all about sales. He's coaching his customers how to get the most out of sales from the moment they introduce themselves in the first 3 seconds, all the way to developing that meaningful relationship. He talks about that you have to identify with your customer, find out what their needs are, make yourself the solution. He shares that people hate to be sold to, but they love to buy. What a revelation. He said people that are on the be back bus never come back. And maybes is what kills. Get a definitive answer. Is it no? And that's okay. Is it yes? That's okay. But maybes are the things that kill your sales. And he said, become the solution to their problem. Be a good listener. Find ways to become the solution.
My name's Travis Sims, and I am the founder and CEO of AGC Accelerated Global Connections. And this is the AGC Experience.
Robin Johnson with High Road Heating and Cooling is a Twin Cities heating and air conditioning contractor. They work in our homes and offices. Do you have an air conditioner that is over 15 years old? If so, now is the time to look at replacing it with a new high-efficient one that utilizes the new refrigerant. Robin and her team are specifically looking for single women or widows that own their own home, condo, or townhouse. High Road offers options so you can get an air conditioner that works for you within your budget. Always choose the High Road. Give them a call at 763-477-3331 or give them an email at info@highroadheating.com.
All right. Welcome, guests, listeners, watchers in our audience here today. I'm so excited to have you on the AGC Experience podcast. Thank you for listening. Thank you for subscribing. And thank you for sharing with others. Because of you, we are getting listeners and watchers from all over the country and all over the world tuning in to the AGC Experience. And today we have an amazing guest with us. I'm super excited to interview Sean Waite. Sean, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you, Travis, for having me, and I'm really looking forward to today.
Awesome. Sean, you have been an early adopter inside AGC, an early member, as well as you said, hey, how can I help? And you jumped right onto the leadership team in one of our events over in the Eagan area. And I just have really enjoyed getting to know you over the last year and wanted to share you with our audience. You seem to have a passion for helping others and really seeing them have success in their life. And it's evident when people meet you and talk to you, and I couldn't wait to share you with the audience, that is. And so I'd love it if you would take a few minutes and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, thanks, Travis. The biggest, I tried to jump on AGC as soon as I was introduced to it because of the format. I struggle. So I'm a coach. I do Southwestern coaching for management, leadership, and sales. And one of the things I've always struggled with is I need to be out there networking. I need to be out there meeting people and making those connections. But with my schedule, it was just so varied. And the thing I love about AGC is the fact that I'm not locked into going to every Friday to a certain place at a certain time because my schedule changes. I can literally attend 6 different events and meet 800 different people and build relationships with the people I am building relationships with, the members, and yet meet another 50 to 100 people who aren't members yet and still build those relationships. So it's simply a fantastic format. So that's
Wow.
why I jumped in. So thank you.
Well, thank you for that. That's a piece that often a lot of people miss. I get the question a lot, how many members? How many members do you have inside AGC? And they're evaluating, do they want to participate or not? And when I get that question, and right now we're currently, we just finished up year one of AGC and we hit 400 plus members in 1 year, which is crazy exponential growth in that amount of time. However, I mean, there are certainly organizations way bigger than AGC at this point. We're just a new baby learning how to walk. But the point that you just made was that people are not always considering the amount of visitors and guests in the room. Not everyone will say yes. Not everyone will stay or become a member. But if you miss talking to the visitors in the room or the visitors on that talk, then you're leaving money on the table.
Yep. The other thing is I have found a lot of value in introducing people and having people come as guests where I'm giving value to my network and my connections saying, hey, come as a guest free for the first time and meet all these other people. So not only am I getting value from me being there, but I'm getting value to my network and being the go-to person for connections, because now I'm saying, here's another venue for you to build your network. So it's just a win all around.
Oh, well, thank you. And that's exactly how I feel about you. And the way I introduced you was, that you're just that constant giver. You're the person that wants to help others and inspire and motivate them. So tell us, where did all that come from? How did you come about to find the way to what you're doing today, and how are you making a difference? Give us the history.
Well, I think as we all know, success is a straight line, right? I mean, you start here and you figure out what you want to do, and boom, it's just straight. Or reality, is this. And I've been big in self-development for decades now. I hate to say it that way. Let's just say years, but I've always believed, Zig Ziglar's quote of, if you help enough other people get what they want or what they need, you'll get what you need. And I've always tried to kind of be that way. And when I first got out of the Navy, or let's go back, when I grew up here in St. Paul, born and raised in St. Paul, went to Highland Park High School. And after that, I was like, I'm not sure what I wanted to do. Went to college for a little bit, working 2 full-time jobs and a part-time job, going to Normandale and Inver Hills, trying to get everything going. And I was like, okay, this is not as fun as it's made out to be. And so I joined the Navy and ended up going into the nuclear engineering program. And, I tell you, it's got one of the highest attrition rates. They call it's like the mental SEALs. I don't look at it that way, but we had an 80% attrition rate of people who started the program till they got done about a year and a half later. And it really made me grow up and really realize that I could be part of something bigger. And if I help the team succeed and I help all these other people who were struggling or who were doing better than me and I supported them, that we could all move forward. And I guess I've always kind of I'm built that way. And so after I got out of the Navy, I was kind of like, well, I'm going to go back to college. Got a part-time job doing at Bally's Fitness as a salesperson, became a general manager there and doing face-to-face sales. I was like, wow, I really love this. I love serving people, helping people. A lot of people hate the term sales. But I always look at it as it's just helping someone make a decision whether or not to use you in your company. And as long as you're not being manipulative and you have their best interest at heart, helping them make a decision, I mean, that's serving people. Because how many people do we know, that know they should do something, but they say, oh, let me think about it, or let me get back to you, or I'll call you tomorrow, and then you never hear from them again. We call that the be back bus. When I was at Bally's Fitness, oh yeah, I'll be back. And every morning we'd open the door out front and that be back bus didn't pull up with all those people who said they were going to be back. So the best way to serve in what I believe in the company I'm with, Southwestern, is help people to move forward and make a decision. No's fine. Yes is great. Maybes are what kill. And so with that whole, going through the nuclear power program and testing my metal and finding out that I do have what it takes to be successful, and then going into the outside sales with Bally's, I went over to inside sales. So I did phone sales while I was going to school across the nation, sandpaper sales over the phone to body shops, indoor shops, and places like that. Now you have about 3 seconds to capture someone's attention, and in those industries, they will tell you straight up. It's not a polite, oh no, thank you, we're good. It's a hang up or worse. So I fine-tuned my skills there with over the phone, and then I had my face-to-face stuff, and then I got into mortgage in 2003, and everything was exploding and everything was going great. Helped open a couple of new branches, and did that for about 15 years. And I apologize for the police going by outside if you could hear that. But I did that for about 15 years, and I was down in Red Wing, Minnesota, working out of there. Then I had a life change, and I moved up to Hastings. And I was like, well, heck, I'm making a move. I'm going to change companies. So I went to a different mortgage company. And at that company, my mentor came in and did a presentation. And I was like, this is incredible, right? He talked about motivation. He talked about all the skills and all these things. And over my time, I've always prided myself as being the most knowledgeable person in the room, and having the information, always helping people. And I just love doing that. And I was like, coaching, he kind of told me what we do in coaching. And I was like, it was scary. It was really scary because I had to jump into a whole new career, a whole new field after 15 years of doing something. But I was like, you know what? God put this in my life right now. I had to leave my other company to be up here to meet, Southwestern, to then go into this field. And it's just so amazing. I work with salespeople across the country, a lot of people here in the Twin Cities, and I kind of specialize in mortgage and real estate just because I have so much knowledge of that. But really, the skills and everything that we know, right? I mean, it works across anything. Sales is sales is sales. And yes, we have to fine tune it, but I just love having an influence on not just the 35 clients I have right now, but their teams. I coach owners of companies who've got 20 employees. I've got mortgage branch managers who've got 10, people on their team. So not only am I making a difference for my 35 people, but even if it's 5 people on each of them, and helping them get their lives right and have more time with their family, and now, the wife and the kids, well, probably not now because we're in the middle of the COVID stuff. They'd actually like to be out a little more, but having them be able to have this time that normally they were just spinning wheels on. I am making an impact on thousands and thousands of people is, I guess, how I look at it. And generational stuff. I help my clients, and they're able to show their kids success and spend more time with it, which is going to relate down to them. And as you can probably tell, I get a little up, energetic about it, because I really believe that what I'm doing now is my calling, and I'm able to make that generational impact and change my tiny corner of the world. So that's kind of where I'm at and kind of where I started. So.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. You've talked a lot about sales, and, there's this stigma around sales, and people don't want to be sold to, and all of those things. But you made a pretty good point, and that was you talked about people being on the be-back bus. And I mean, we know they're in the market to buy because they're out shopping, right? I mean, think about when people are going into their. I look at myself, even if I go to a department store and I'm looking at something, and the salesperson comes over and says, "Can I help you?" No, I'm just looking. It's automatic reflex. Everyone just goes, "No, I'm just looking. I'm just looking." And because you're like, "Oh, I don't want to be sold to." But then whenever you look around, you're like, "Oh, I need some help with this." You're now hunting down the salesperson that was trying to help you in the first place.
Yep.
And the same thing, like I have a friend that's in car sales, and you have this person coming on the lot. They're looking around at cars, and they're in the market to buy a car. They wouldn't be there.
Yep.
And who's going to know better about the product that is there than the salesperson trying to share the product? So I think sometimes, even though there's that stigma around, I don't want to be sold to, their sales, but they're also the experts, and that's why we came there. We want to learn from those experts. We just need a little nudge to know that we want to learn.
People, like you said, people hate to be sold, but they love to buy. And that's the biggest thing is trying to our part of our mission statement as a company is to elevate sales, which is most salespeople and will go and we do what we call show up and throw up, right? They'll say, well, hi, you're looking at this car, well, blah, 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 right? They don't ask questions. They don't try to find out what the person needs. And that's what it's so tough, because overcoming that basic, people, what's the number one thing people like to talk about?
It's always themselves.
Exactly. Right. And salespeople are exactly that way. Right.
Favorite subject. Yes. It's myself always.
Yep. And it's, hey, this is what I can do for you. And this is what and that's why I love doing what I'm doing, is because we're showing people how you can help guide people and give them what they need the way they want. You meet them where they're at and help them to make the decision. And we have a thing called the law of diminishing intent, which the example I always use is, say you and I are at an event and you are, okay, so I'm going to throw a little sunshine your way because you are so great about this. And you tell us at every event, or you bring it up at every event, is make an appointment now with somebody, right? Pull out your phone, do it now. Because the law of diminishing intent says that if you and I are at an event and we both really want to do something, right, and we're in the emotion of the moment, yeah, let's get together, Travis. How about next Wednesday? And you say, I can't next Wednesday. How about Friday? And I say, oh, I can't. Well, let's talk about it, and we'll get together for lunch. Yeah. When's the next time we see each other? At the next AGC
event. At the next event, yes.
Right. And so that's why it's so, elevating the perception of sales as if you want to serve somebody to do something that they want to do. They just need a little bit more information and a little bit of that guidance. And that, like you said, with people come in, it's automatically, you walk into a store, like you said, no, I'm good. Well, we know you're not, right? And a good salesperson, oh, okay, well, awesome. Just so you know, we've got this going on or this going on. If you need me, I'm available. And using your language and using some of the skills that we innately have, but I think we think so much about ourselves and what we want in the moment instead of serving. And that's the biggest thing we work on with people, and that I love, is the fact of getting people to realize when I roll out things and they're like, oh my goodness, I should be asking more questions. It's like, yes, because you're trying to sell them what you think they need. They're not looking to buy what you want. They're looking to buy what they need. And so it's just incredible when we work with people and all of a sudden they're like, you know what, you're right, I do. And handling objections and being able to follow an outline, because most people, we always say, it's like Tom Brady. Tom Brady didn't go on the field on Sundays and just, hey, I'm just going to go throw it around and see what happens. He practices. He's been doing this a long time. He is still doing fundamentals. Most people in their business, when they're talking with other people, they wing it, right? I don't like scripts. Well, scripts are just an outline. I don't want to sound fake. I would bet that anybody who's been in business more than 3 to 4 years, you have a script. It's innate and you've learned it over time, but you say the same kind of basic things over and over again. And so just giving people some ways to think about stuff I just love it, because you hear them say, not only did I just close the sale, or did I just, do this, you actually got someone to start working out again, or to buy the car, or, join AGC, which is going to help them. And that, that's for me what in my whole company, actually, there's 160 of us coaches across the nation. It's just the coolest thing, man.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. You're giving us a lot of great advice, and it's great to have an expert on a narrow topic in the industry, because when people think of coaches, there are so many different types of coaches, and
Yes, there is.
so many. I mean, some that laser focus in on something because they're the expert in that area of expertise. And then others are really broad, around like that big brush stroke of, I coach on all of these things.
Yeah.
And so I love that you're focused in on sales. It's something that we all have to do to put our food on the table. It's also, I think, the thing that most people are really nervous about doing too.
Mm-hmm.
And so I guess I want to ask you, because you've mentioned a few different times that don't just throw up on them, right? Don't give them
Mm-hmm.
all the information. Don't just start off the conversation with, here's what I have and here's what I do. So you're saying even in high sales where you need to do volume, it's still about listening?
Still about listening, man. It's about finding out what they need and meeting that need, being the solution to their problem. If for example, if you're a realtor and you're talking with a couple and you're saying, well, I've got these $400,000 houses and I've got this and this and this and 5 bedrooms, but they're looking to downsize because their kid just went off to college,
Yeah.
right? You have to listen, because if you don't listen, you don't know what to present. You might have a way to help them, but the other part of that is when you say all the stuff you can do or you have, is confused people don't buy, right? They step back because they have to process. And so that's why a lot of times people are like, well, let me think about it, I'll get back to you. And it's because they're confused or they got too much information. And it's like, okay, what the first objection people usually throw up is that, let me get back to you, or let me talk to my spouse. When really they're like, okay, I don't really understand how the pricing works or how this works or how it meets my need. And asking the questions and getting those second and third level questions is so important, because you have to find out what the real problem you're solving is. So asking the questions and making it about them and what they need as opposed to what you need.
That's great. So be the solution seeker. That's what Sean's saying here. Don't just push your agenda on someone, but find out what they really need, what they really want, and why they're in the market to buy. Such great advice, awesome advice. And coming from someone, you said earlier that you sold sandpaper over the phone. That's some pretty good sales, by the way. I mean, you can sell sandpaper over the phone. But I remember you saying that, I had like 3 seconds to make an impression. And I feel like sometimes like every salesperson should have to do telemarketing at some time in their life to develop some of those skills. And I'll tell you, I did some telemarketing way back in the day. When I started my first business, which by the way happened to be a pressure washing business. That was my very first business.
Yep.
And pressure washing business, great business, low startup cost. It's something that you can do relatively easily. It's hard work, but it's not a terrible business to start and get into. The problem with it was in Indiana, and there's still winter in Indiana. And so it was a great summer, but then winter came. And because it was my first year in business, I didn't have enough to save back for the winter. And so I had to go and do something else in the winter. And I did telemarketing in the winter. And I remember I was sitting at a telemarketing firm with the headset on, and I'm selling, and you only have seconds to talk to someone. I think everyone should have to go through that. So when you said 3 seconds, do you think, and I know that's over the phone, what advice do you have for people that are starting to network or that are going out and meeting people in sales? What kind of time do they have to make a first impression?
They say on average 5 to 7 seconds. And one of the things that we talk about a lot is what we call the pre-approach. So say you go to, if I'm going to go meet with you, I might do a little, if you know who you're going to meet with, do a little research, find some common things, and don't use things that are, don't make up things. If like you were, you did magic, right?
Yes.
I never did magic, but I also see you had a pool at your home and you drive a Harley. Well, I used to ride bike. I had a pool house. So you can find some of these things so that when you talk with somebody, if you know a little bit, people want to do business with people they know, like, and trust. And who do they like the most? Themselves. So obviously, if you have some things in common with somebody, you're obviously intelligent and smart and someone to be around because you're just like me. So if you can find some of that common things, whether it's talking to somebody, if I say I talk to Janet Johnson and, hey, tell me about Travis. Is he a direct to the point type of person, or is he chatty like me and like to talk? And finding out some of these things will help you build rapport, and good rapport, because you would build this rapport over, 10 times meeting, because you learn about each other. But if you can kind of, what I want to say, fast forward and finding some of these things to build rapport with, or someone you have in common, in that 5 to 7 seconds, walls just come down. And it's so effective because now you're talking about them. Well, Travis, tell me more about, what was the favorite part of doing magic? What did you like? And let people talk about themselves. And that's what I would say when you're networking with somebody or you're going to an event. If you can do a little beforehand, figure out who's going to be there and kind of find out, okay, who's the people I want to talk to. And we all know that the simple fact is, with networking events, you're there to build relationships, right? But in the end, we want relationships that also help move our business forward. So there's going to be certain demographics, depending on what you're in, what industry you're in, that might have served the same demographic you're in. So find some of those people. For me, example, Maureen Callahan, she's a realtor. So I wanted to know a little bit more about her. I made a point to meet her at one of the events. So when you only have that 5 to 7 seconds, it's about matching their energy. And I don't know if you've ever heard of mirroring before.
Yes.
NLP type of stuff. Being able to do that is just going to open doors, and walls are going to come down a lot quicker if you can help with that rapport by having some information. Does that make sense?
It does. I think you're right. People want to buy from people that are like them. And when you're talking about relationships versus transactions, right?
Yep.
Transactions are usually one time, but a relationship is ongoing, which means that they'll keep coming back to you and they'll refer people to you. And when you're staying in touch with your relationship, it creates this long-term client effect as opposed to that transactional piece of business. So I think it's fantastic advice. I think you're straight on, right on. And I hope our listeners and our audience is taking good notes on things like this, because it does matter. And I think that so much, I think about, and I don't want to stereotype someone, but I often see young, just starting out salespeople. And unfortunately, sometimes they don't always get great coaching advice like you're providing us. And they have someone that is over them in a manager's role. And they're going, go out and sell. Yep. And it's all about the numbers, and it's all about the transactions, and it's all about, and they get this blinders on. It's like, all right, and hang up, and they're on to the next person. And you can spot them. I mean, you can see them at an event, how they operate differently, and how, networking is really a long-term approach. It's not in that short little transactional world.
We call that commission breath, right? You walk up, and you get face to face, and you're like, whoa, okay. Just like if someone ate a big clove of garlic, you can tell, right? Because they're like, I need to get this done. And one of the things, especially with new salespeople, I'll ask them when we're talking, and I'll say, so what was the name of the person when you just went out, when you went to McDonald's and got your order? They had a name tag on. What was the name of the person that took that order and took care of you? And they're like, I have no idea, right? But if I ask you, who did your mortgage, or who's your realtor, right? They know, because it's the relationship type of things that are going to, every client and every customer has a lifetime value. And, with what they're going to purchase or repurchase or who they're going to send to you. And people love to be heroes in their stories. So, for example, I love putting out about AGC. I mean, when we've had Egan events and now at the Baldwin Brewery, I go on my Facebook Messenger and I forward that message to everybody, because me helping you grow and helping AGC grow and helping all of us grow, I love it. It makes me feel good. So it's amazing if you, the point I guess I was trying to get to is if you build relationships, people want to help you. They want to be the hero that helped make you grow. And when they're sitting at Christmas, the next year and saying, "Oh, you refied with my guy Steve. Hey, good thing I hooked you up with him, huh?" Right? Yep. No, we're doing really good. And they get that feeling. And so many people don't do the relationship, and they don't ask for referrals, because they feel like then they're showing weakness or things like that. But yeah, build the relationships, and then people will be your raving fans, and it's just gonna help. You serve 100 people, then they're gonna let people know, and your business will grow through relationship.
Absolutely. As we're starting to get near the end of our time, I wanted to ask you a question and get your advice around, we're currently in unprecedented times. People have been, many of them, off work for the last 30 days. There unfortunately will be tons of businesses that won't survive, that will end up closing or bankruptcy. There's going to be a lot of employees that are finding themselves without work, not knowing what to do or where they're going to start over, how they're going to do that. And just in this short podcast, you've shared, hey, I've had a couple different career choices in your life that's led to you having the experience that you've had and finding a way to contribute and help others in your corner of the world, as you described. What advice would you give to, business owners or salespeople, or just the person going, where do I start now? I have to completely start over, or I have to rebuild myself or reinvent myself. What kind of advice do you have? And I know that's a tall order. It's a big thing to ask of you, but I'd love to hear your thoughts.
I've been answering this question every day for the last month and a half. A lot of my clients, who, especially the small business owners, the first thing I tell when I talk with people who have been laid off or something to that effect, or have, major upending where they might not go back, is, okay, you keep saying you want to do something, or you've wanted to do something. You have a dream business or a dream you wanted to go in, but you couldn't survive and you couldn't leave your job and you couldn't. Well, guess what? You kind of been forced on it. So going forward, yes, you have to do what you have to do to survive, but then maybe figure out what is it that you want to do. Come up with your plan and your goal. And if you need to work part-time in a place or in a career, how can you make choices now? Because we've all had to tighten the belt and, kind of pare down to the minimum. You should take this as a great point of, you can survive. You will be able to survive and thrive. If you've been laid off or any of these things, say, okay, you know what? If the worst case scenario is I go into my new business or career or do something like that and it fails, I'm kind of right back at where I am right now, right? So take that chance, be educated and do the research, but take that chance and go out there now and do what you really want. I talk with people who are 50, 60 years old, and they're like, oh, I could never leave mortgage. What would I do? I'd have to go back to school and do all this stuff. I'm like, well, if you live to 80 years old, you just spent 20 years doing something you really loved. It's not like it's only going to be 1 or 2 years. So take this opportunity now to embrace and see, okay, what do I want? Maybe this is the reset button you needed. With businesses that I'm working with right now, I say this is a pause button, but we need to come off pause and we need action. Right now, in every recession and every downturn and every major economic, it goes in cycles, right? They say 7 to 10 years. This is when people become very successful and they make progress. But you have to take action. You you don't have 100% of the answers right now. You never will. General Norman Schwarzkopf said, as long as he had between 50 and 60%, I believe the numbers were, of the information, he would make a decision. Because even if the decision was wrong, he would find out that it was the wrong decision much quicker than if they just sat there and thought about it. So take action, be sensitive, right? Meet people where they're at, but take action. And even if it's just a baby step every day, right? You're going to be 20 baby steps ahead at the end of a month. And just feel a fear and do it anyways. And that's what I'm telling everybody. This is actually a good chance, especially for salespeople and business owners, to gain market share, to deepen relationships, and to come out the other end doing all these things that they said they didn't have time to do. That's going to strengthen their business. So take action.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, thank you so much for that. I think it's just sound advice for people, and it's so relevant. The timing is right. And, people I remember coming out of a recession. I remember having the rug just pulled out from under me, not once, but multiple times in my life, where I fell down and had to pick myself right back up again. And if you're listening or you're watching and you're in that position right now, we want you to know that you're going to be okay and you will survive this. And there are even bigger and better things yet to come in your life. You just haven't experienced them yet. And Sean says, don't sit around and wait for them to happen. He said, take action on it and take action today. Sean, wow, what an awesome podcast. What great advice and nuggets. I've got a whole page of notes here. And I want to know, for our audience sake, because if it's someone that, I know you said you like to work with realtors and mortgage, and maybe that's your niche market, but do you work with other salespeople as well?
Yes. Sales is sales is sales. And a lot of, I work with basically a lot of entrepreneurs because they've never been exposed to sales. They were maybe very good at what they did in a company, so they went on their own, and now, whoa, there's a lot more to running a company than just that. So I work with a lot of entrepreneurs, and anybody in sales who basically, if they have a team of 4 or more as a sales manager, we work a lot with them to help them and their team. But if you are dependent upon someone making a decision whether or not to use your service, you're in sales, and we can help you.
Awesome. So you heard it here. If you're in sales, and it doesn't matter what it is, the beautiful thing about Sean and what I want to take away from him is that he's coaching people in sales, like mortgage and real estate, that are dealing with people's biggest purchases of their life. I mean, some of the largest numbers of amounts of money the transactions are being happening there, and you're coaching them. So if you're listening to this and you're selling something smaller than that $1 million home or $500,000 home, then Sean may have some great advice for you. So Sean, if we want to get to know how to find you after today's podcast, how do we do that?
Well, you can Google me at Sean Wait, SEANWAIT, and I'll come up with all my platforms. But the best way is probably checking me out on my website at www.Sean, that's Sean, SEAN, Wait, WAIT.com. So SeanWait.com. And that's going to take you right to my website. And we'll be able to sit and talk. And all of our coaches here, we do a free 1 hour business consultation to see if it's a fit, because in all honesty, not everybody's going to be a fit. They're not all going to want to work with me. They might want to work with a Les or a Jason Jones or someone like that. Yeah. And I'm going to put another plug for AGC. That is one of the other things that's so great is you said this to me at a coffee with the CEO and said, the beautiful thing is there's going to be certain people who are going to want to work with you, with Les, with Jason, with all these different people. But we'll do a consultation, see if it's a fit, because we don't want to sale. We want to fit.
Yeah.
And that's the best way to get a hold of us.
Wow. Okay. And like the last few seconds, you're like just blowing everybody's mind. And that is that, hey, you can collaborate with competitors. People think that you can't. Everybody gets this scarcity mindset around.
So wrong. Yep.
I know. that you have to
Abundant.
fear your competitor, or stay away from them, and don't tell them anything, and don't share anything. And,
Yep.
and you're saying, hey, I would rather someone work with someone else and be the right fit than to work with me, because I know, I mean, if you send your competitor a referral, they're going to remember that forever.
Mhm.
And whenever their workload is too big or they don't have the right fit, they're going to think of you and refer you back.
There you go. Once again, it's about relationships.
Oh my gosh. Thank you for that. What an awesome way to close this podcast. That was worth its weight in gold. Thank you for that so much. Sean, appreciate you being on the podcast today and sharing all this information with our audience. And audience, I want to say thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. I hope you got as much out of this as I did. I hope that you walked away with a page full of notes if you're somewhere you can write. And if not, re-listen. Listen again. I often think, you need to reabsorb some of the things to get all of them in place, and to be in a place where you can clear your mind, you can think about what you're absorbing and make notes on it, so you really can take action on it later. So please do that. Share this podcast with a friend, with a fellow business colleague, someone that you think could benefit, and don't forget to subscribe. So thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Thank you, Sean.
Take care, everybody. Thanks, Travis.
This podcast was produced by Elation Studios. Go to www.elationstudios.co to learn more. Elation Studios. Discover your voice, clarify your vision, build your life.